Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Fair Life with Andrew McKee, and it's August 9th in 2021, so definitely starting to get into the final stretches of the summer, and I'm sure some of you are really excited about that because, well, for a lot of us, we look at the spring and the fall as the big fair seasons. I know there are some fairs going on now, but as soon as the end of August starts happening, it's fair season really seems to get going. At least that's how I've always looked at it. I wonder, do y'all look at that? Do y'all look at it that way too? Because I always have. So a little bit of excitement. It's kind of like, well, I guess it's kind of like football fans, where the fall gets going and football season, everybody's excited. For me, it's like fair season. Oh my gosh, fair season is really coming up the fall, and it was always a big deal. But I think part of that is because I grew up near the Texas Renaissance Festival, and that was a fall show, and I've always kind of had that in my head. So maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just how I look at it. I don't know. What about y'all? Same thing? And hey, Drew and Janine and Jan and Susan. Wow. And Damaris and Kathy and Kat. Wow. Hello. Um, so I don't know. Do y'all have a particular season that you look at as fair season? Or is that just me? I wonder. And while you're thinking about answers on that, please do share the stream if you're on Facebook. It's appreciated, and like it, and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Um, so yeah, Janine, yes, yeah, you look at it as a school thing when you go back, and I totally get that because a lot of people that are in school certainly look at the fall as a return to school. Um, oh, and Kat went from marching band season to fair season. Interesting, interesting. And of course, Drew is October because of TRF, same as me, so he looks at it the same way. And Susan looking for a normal lawn bowling season. Interesting, interesting. That's different. Okay. And Damaris says every season is fair season for me. Um, wow, I suddenly feel like I'm in the middle of a in the middle of a Warner Brothers Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck bit where we're kind of saying, fall is fair season, spring is fair season, fall is fair season, spring. But anyway, um, oh, and Jan says pays more attention to elementary school. Well, of course, Jan travels to fairs all year round too, so I can see where it may not have a particular season you associate. Well, right. Drew works one fair, so but we don't look down on you. I mean, we know every fair we go to, there's always somebody who, a lot of people who just work that fair, and they're still fair people. We don't, no, no judgment, no judgment. It tastes great, less filling. Thanks, Susan. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was really looking to expand the fairs that I did a couple of years ago. I was looking to really jump into that in 2020, and I started really reaching out and making some plans. And then COVID happened, and everything kind of went okay. Because mainly I only do a few fairs each year, and I've been wanting to fill it up and make it all year round, sort of like Damaris. Um, but next year I'm going to look into doing that again. That's the plan anyway. My spring and fall should be pretty full, is what I'm looking at, and maybe little bit of the summer. We'll see. We will see. And yes, Drew, I'm glad that's comforting. Um, okay, interesting. And Drew, you're right. It's hard to do the circuit with a family, and everybody gets that. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a regular day job, but then they make the time in during that fair season to kind of make their job secondary and really just do fairs. And it's an interesting tack to take, and it's not easy. It's really not easy to separate that and make those sacrifices. I totally understand. And you have to respect that. I mean, at least you get your little bit of fare that you can enjoy for a few months, and that can last through the year. I mean, you get to be a performer, an actor, whatever, and that's great. um, yes, yes, Damaris, I am trying to. I don't know if I want to be on the road all year round. I know people that do that technically don't have a place they live. I've never been a fan of that, but Yeah, I mean, I'm fine traveling a lot and being away for good stints, and then having a home I come back to and can relax. I mean, I know it profit wise, it's a problem, but I still think it's a good thing for now. Ah, and Chris, yes, yes, the Olympic Games are done, so it's good to have you back. Great to see you. And yeah, and for those of you who are fans of the U.S. and their participation in the Olympics, we came out on top medal, gold medal wise, and all medals. So it was close on the gold medal, but we came in there. But I was really pleased to see how many countries got a medal. Um, a good number, even small countries that traditionally don't have much representation in the Olympics. A few of them got medals for the first time, and that's always a good feeling. So, not too bad. And hello, Kurt. Great to see you. Great to see you. Well, I do want to point out something that I don't know how many of you know right now. A couple of days ago was the 30th anniversary of the World Wide Web. So, kind of interesting, right? 30 years ago, the World Wide Web started. I mean, and for those of you that don't know this, before that, there actually still was internet. It just didn't have web pages. So the internet existed before the web. Little known fact, I think. But a little trivia there. So it's scary to think that 30 years. Now, to be fair though, we didn't really have web pages 30 years ago. That's when the first web server was up and a little test page was up and people could check it out. It really didn't get going until about 2 years later in '93. But yes, yes, that's sort of '93 was when a few web pages at universities and things started actually showing up, and then it just kind of went crazy from there. But yeah, I actually got online a little before the World Wide Web. So I remember things like Archie and Veronica and Gopher searches, telnetting everywhere. So yeah, I did get that little foundational knowledge before the web kind of took over everything. And now they're talking about eliminating FTP support in browsers. So yeah, things have changed a lot. Things have really changed a lot. You're right, Susan. Yeah, there are still people that will do the www. Yes, you don't really have to these days. I don't know. It's more precedent and tradition than necessity, I guess. But yes. Oh, yes. AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, and ICQ. Those I do recall those. Those good old days. Right. Um, yeah, I mean, I remember on Windows 3.1, or actually no, Windows 3.11, Windows for Workgroups, setting up a WinSock and Mosaic for the first time as my browser. Wow. And remember Alta Vista as your main search engine? Yeah, the 90s. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So a little, a little dance down memory lane there. Um, Oregon Trail generation, yes, and I appreciate that you put the game because yeah, that there you have to differentiate that. Um, yeah, don't want to die of dysentery. Definitely not, Janine. So yes, we do remember it well. Little trivia: I never played Oregon Trail when I was a kid. It just we skipped it in school for some reason. It never happened. Other stuff, yes, but never Oregon Trail. I didn't play it until later. I think the first time I played Oregon Trail was um, when I was I think college was the first time I really messed with it because people kept talking about it and I checked it out. So I kind of skipped Oregon Trail as a kid. Mm. Oh, email lists, Drew. Yeah, 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 definitely. Got to remember the email lists. Remember Usenet, where you the early versions of forums and all of that, and chatting with friends. The old Usenet groups. Those were early social media, right there. Yes, those were the days. Those were the days. Of course, I also remember life before that, going on to bulletin board systems with on my modem and using Procom Plus as my dialing program. Ah, the good old days. Yes, dialing in. Wow. Yeah, I know. Sometimes if I want to be, just have that feeling of nostalgia, I'll watch You've Got Mail from the late '90s, that movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, and just yeah, they'll dial in and you'll hear the tones from from that and from AOL that they were using. So yeah, that was fun. Oh, the Doghouse BBS, Drew. That's the one you got. There's one in Austin back in the day called Balcones Fault Line, and because Austin is on a fault line called the Balcones Fault Line, so they had a BBS called that, and that was a good one. Oh yeah, nice, nice. Um, so yeah, anybody else have some good internet memories from when they started? I don't know. Uh, yeah, because I kind of got into it pretty early, considering, but yeah, I know some of you. It it started out more in universities, and then it became more mainstream, partially thanks to services like AOL and CompuServe and things like that. Yeah, Houston was a good hub for the internet back in the day. It really was. I grew up just south of Houston, so when I'd go back from school in the summer from Austin, yeah, I'd get hang out there, and I would get on some Houston BBSs. Not too much though, because my parents were annoyed that I'd tie up the phone line because it was dial up. Yes, yes. Susan, you're right. Yes, the whole same time thing. Right, right. Oh, web rings, nice. Oh, nice. Yeah, and that's you get some of that stuff in the uh, early days. I mean, the internet was a lot older than most people tend to think. Internet and then ARPANET, and you had a lot of early networks that worked that way. So kind of an interesting time. Uh, definitely, definitely fun. So a lot of good memories there. I mean, for me, I know doing MUDs, multi-user domains, which was like World of Warcraft except text-based, and that was the game I played back in the early '90s. Telnet in and go through text, and I'd have chats with people all over the world who were playing on the same game through the same server, and it was very novel. I remember having chats with people from South Africa and who were playing late one night in the early '90s, and those interesting conversations because South Africa was a kind of a lot more contentious part of the world back then. So yeah, I was just that was my first taste of actually talking with people all over the world thanks to the internet, and I really enjoyed it. But I also learned that I will really get obsessed with games, so that's why I've never played World of Warcraft. I learned that from budding. No, I have this desire to finish, and games that actually have no end, it's hard for me to stop playing them. So I have to actually watch that. I like finishing things. It's really strange that way. Oh, Neocron, nice. So yeah, some interesting internet memories, and I just wanted to scare you all to tell you that the World Wide Web is actually 30 years old. Technically, I'd say 28 when web pages were available to in general, but yeah, 30 years old. Um, wow, MMO from 2002. Yeah, some of the early ones, yeah, Ultima Online and EverQuest were around before that too. Yeah, those were the early ones I remember. So anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the fairs that are coming up because there are a few. Um, yeah, I'm still having a Photoshop issue with my edits, so I still need to work on that. So I don't have a map for you, but I can at least tell you what they are. Um, let's see. We have a few of the ones still going on, like the Colorado Renaissance Festival in Larkspur is still going on, um, and Bristol in Kenosha, Wisconsin is still going on too. So and Sterling Renaissance Festival in New York. So you still have those big three for the summer that you're all used to. But then in Washington State, you have the Washington Midsummer Renaissance Fair in Bonnie Lake, Washington, and the Great Lakes Medieval Fair and Marketplace in Rock Creek, Ohio. Um, and then also in Minnesota, the Festival of Scalds in Angora, Minnesota. Oh, and then I almost forgot another one in New York Capital District Renaissance Festival in Altamonte, New York. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right because my southern pronunciation is probably very different from New York. Um, wow. Oh, and Damaris says she's the same age as the internet. I just saw that. And I'm with you, Drew. That is killing me. That is. Damaris, yeah. Wow. That's both kind of cool and depressing. You've never known a world without the internet, without cell phones, without being connected all the time to the world. I That's interesting, and I pity you at the same time in a way. Uh, mm, wow. Oh, UNIVAC. Wow, Kurt. Yes, yes. I didn't realize this would be that much of a big subject matter when I brought it up. I figured it was just a footnote topic, but no, no, y'all are really interested in this. I guess everybody has their own internet memories of cool moments, whether it's playing games or researching things for school or for your own interest, uh, yeah, or communicating with people, whether it's family or friends or meeting new people. It's yeah, it back in the day you used to just give each other numbers or addresses to write to each other letters, and now it's all even nowadays email is starting to become antiquated. It, it's a strange world we live in for us that remember it before. Oh my gosh. Overcook a hard boiled egg to replace the trackball in her mouse. Wow. 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 And that's okay. That's fair to Drew. Damaris, yes, very much true. Very much true. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, I had a weird thought. I know, strange for me. Most of my thoughts are very normal. But I had a weird thought um, last week, and it was just kind of like, you know, um, that I think Ren fairs have just not been well represented in movies. You know, I mean, think about it. Ren fairs, you don't see, you just don't see many movies about Ren fair, and in fact, I can only think of a few that have ever been about Ren fair, and they were all low budget films. Either they were filmed at a Ren fair or about a Ren fair, and it's kind of, I don't know. It just surprises me because you'd think that's an interesting subject matter, and I thought about it, and I thought about what would be a good um, a, some good script ideas for Ren fair movies, and I thought, what about a zombie apocalypse when you're at a Ren fair? I mean, come on, that writes itself. I mean, it's like, it, I mean, really, it does. I mean, a great script would be filming it at a Ren fair, but going back and saying that the plague, the bubonic plague, was actually a zombie apocalypse, but it was hushed up by the church, and it was also spawned the Inquisition as a response to them having to fight the zombie apocalypse. I mean, something cool like that, alternate history type thing. I mean, come on, it just writes itself. Why not? Um, But then I thought about it and I thought, if a zombie apocalypse happened, a Ren Fair would be a perfect place to be. Um, I mean, it really would. A Ren Fair would be, if a zombie apocalypse happens, be at a Ren Fair. And then it suddenly occurred to me, you know, what a great 7 reasons. 7 reasons a Ren Fair is the best place to be to survive a zombie apocalypse. See how I got there? Yes. It's perfect. It's perfect. So, yeah. So let's just go through this real quick. Number 7, the seventh reason why Ren Fair is the best place to survive a zombie apocalypse. Yes. Okay. 3, they're not usually inside or near cities. So you kind of get that sparse aspect. I mean, you'll have a few people that outside the Ren Fair that get infected, but small towns, it's not going to be that crazy. You don't have to deal with 100,000 zombies coming at you, at least not immediately. You'll have some time. So it's not a bad place to start. It's not a bad place to start. Yes, so number 6, the 6th reason. Well, security and EMS are available. I mean, so you get medical services and you have security already installed and set up. And, usually at Ren Fairs, security are off-duty police officers that are there just getting some extra money. So you have some police, you have medical. I mean, that's a great place to start. So, yeah, I mean, you've already covered a few of the basics for surviving a zombie apocalypse. Right, right. Yeah. Oh, I know. 30K, yeah, you got to worry about that. But I'm saying the zombie apocalypse happens elsewhere and you're already at a Ren Fair, Drew. So it's okay. It doesn't happen inside the Ren Fair. Although, if it did, I still think you might be okay. Um, but I'm just saying, yeah, I mean, if you're already there, you might want to stay at the Ren Fair and say, everybody, let's just stay here and, yeah, do it that way. Because I hear you, Drew. If the zombie is already in your house, it's rough. Your odds are not great. I mean, you have to hear about it and then do something. Number 5, defense with walls and entrances. I mean, a lot of fairs, I mean, they already have walls or some sort of separation around the fair in some way to keep things to kind of look like an old city, and few entrances. So you're kind of already set. If you might have to work a little bit, get some groups together to build it up and make it a little more stable. But just for mindless zombies, it's not a bad place to start. Not a bad place to start. So number 4, second-story lodging in most buildings. Now, what Drew said, if it does happen to get through and all of a sudden there's some zombies in the fair, well, you've got some second-story options to at least keep. I mean, the main fear of a zombie attack and a zombie apocalypse, and it's kind of frightening that I actually know this now that I think about it, but the main fear is getting them in a large group where they surround you, because it's really difficult. The standard man versus animal type of approach, where man will probably win because of intelligence and weapons and all of that kind of thing. When there's a pack of them, you're in a lot of trouble. So second store, one entrance, one at a time, that really helps a lot. So also a way to get away from them. So not a bad place to start. Number 3, lots of people who know how to live off grid. So this is thinking long term now. So you got to do that. You got to rebuild society. I mean, you're kind of talking about you're pretty much, if you want to rebuild society without all of the advances of technology and all of that, starting from scratch, you're surrounded by the people who are best suited to do it. I mean, you've pretty much just say, okay, we're going to organize a little bit. Okay, we've got society rebuilt. I mean, you're almost there. Just got to dig a few wells and you're good to go. So, yeah. It really it really changes things. You've got a good start there. Number 2, people with swords. I mean, come on. Another one of the big worries with a zombie apocalypse is ammunition, the supply, and how it runs out. With that, yeah. I mean, you've got people who are going to be good at melee combat, and zombie attacks, I mean, sure, modern weapons are going to be great at range, and that's wonderful. But when you get to melee, somebody who's really good at melee fighting is going to be very key. You just want to cover your mouth so the blood doesn't get in to infect you. But that's it. So, well, yeah, okay. Drew is right. You're also surrounded by some patrons are very much not good at that. So, okay, how about this as a compromise, Drew? If you're at a fair and you're working there, and it's in the middle of the week, that's a great time to survive a zombie apocalypse. How about that? How about that? Maybe not with patrons, but if you are a patron, hey, I mean, you're not the best person to do it, which means out in the city you'd be in trouble. But the people that work there are good, so get near them. It's a good thing. Um, so number one, gotta know where your friends are. I mean, if you're surviving some sort of apocalypse, let's be honest. You want to be near family. You want to be near friends. You want to be around the people you care about. And for a lot of us, I think Faire. That's usually where a lot of the people I care about are. I mean, that's where a lot of my friends are. So if I'm already there, I'm already with my friends, and then it happens. Hey, bonus. So it's a good place to go. So yeah, just a quick thought about how to survive a zombie apocalypse, and I really think this screenplay is a good idea. I mean, not just a Sci-Fi Channel original film, God help us. I mean something actually good. So just throwing it out. um, oh, what? 3 year on Prime? What, a zombie apocalypse in medieval times or something, Kat? Or are you talking about for Ren fairs specifically? Because that's a few different things. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. That's true too, Damaris. You're right. You're right. They are likely to make stupid mistakes and die off really fast. Oh, Don Juan and Miguel movies. Well, that's, like I said, some low budget stuff. You get that kind of thing. Sure. Yes. But yeah, that's it happens, Drew. Don't beat yourself up. Um, when you're imagining a zombie apocalypse, the fingers don't move the right way. You're distracted. It's perfectly all right. Perfectly reasonable to think about that. Very much so. Very much so. Now, of course, this is all assuming that standard zombies, but I mean, zombies. Let's just be honest. Zombies are a bit of a logical, common sense stretch anyway. Um, Usually, there's two ways to go about it. You look at it as some mystical evil power that does it, or it's some sort of a virus. And yeah, that seems a little weird in general, not that believable. I mean, unless your view of science is like some people's view of science lately, so maybe it would work. But yeah, it's still interesting. I really like the idea of doing a movie about like uh, late medieval plague period, where yeah, instead of a plague, it's actually a zombie apocalypse, and the church is trying to take care of it and hush everything up. Um, not quite like the movie Priest, although I guess it kind of would be, but that was not a good film. But yeah, something good, actually a good film. But just a random thought. Like I said, I have random thoughts. Seen half of everything, Drew? Really, really? I don't know. I mean, for me, there's so much I still haven't seen or heard or experienced. I never will see everything. And that's why I think life is pretty awesome because, um, I mean, just music alone, there's so much more. Uh, Not just to be created, so much that already has been created that I haven't heard or seen the sheet music to. And that's why it's so much fun. Damaris, funny or horror film? It could go either way. I mean, you could definitely do a bit of a comedy version, but honestly, I think it would work well as sort of like an action adventure film. that is loose horror. Like, horror films to me are a little over the top. I mean, they try to scare you. That's their goal in some way. I don't think this is about scaring people. I think it's just people that are in a tough situation, and this is the story of how it happened, kind of thing. Think of it more like a war film, or a western. So, but with zombies and history, and I like that more. So, sort of like a loose horror film, because horror to me is an attempt to make something that is so far fetched, it's scary because you've never thought of it before. It's designed to surprise you, and that's one of the reasons I'm not a huge horror fan. So I would actually try to make it more as believable as possible. But that's me. And of course, comedy is another way to go, and you can make it farcical, so that works. Yeah, I know. Janine, it's a bit of a stretch anyway. But anyway, just a thought. Oh, that half of everything. No, no, I don't think I have seen that. I'm not familiar. Like, I know there are a few things that have been filmed at Ren fairs, but not many, and it was usually low budget stuff. So, yeah. Well, okay. Well, if people are for it, that's great. If you want to write it, great. Trademark credit. That's something I came up with, but yeah. Oh, well, okay. I'll take a look for it, Drew. That sounds interesting. Especially if it's old school TRF, because that would be a nice trip down memory lane. It's always kind of fun to go on YouTube and occasionally look at old videos from your home fair and see stuff from years and years ago. Uh, Not just to see the show, but to see the area around it and see people dressed in clothing that you wouldn't be caught dead in now, because it's just so crazy and bad. Um, I wouldn't wear shorts that short or socks that high, that kind of thing. Always funny. Salt helps cure zombies, so hold them down and force Gatorade. I like it. I like it. Oh, okay. The feast hall entryway. Nice. Nice. Well, excellent. Well, I definitely have given you something to think about, and hopefully not something to instill nightmares for tonight. Hopefully not. I try to avoid horror if I can, but definitely something interesting. Something to think about. So, while you're thinking about that, I hope you have a great week and enjoy it, because, like I said, fall is coming up, and Olympics are done, but there's still some fairs going on now, and it's going to just explode here in a few weeks, where usually the Labor Day weekend is a big starter weekend for a lot of fairs. So the list is going to get a bit huge. I'm going to have to start reading the list of fairs, and I'm going to try to fix the map thing because that's still bugging me. But have to read the list of fairs like I sing Bog Down in the Valley and get it really fast, because it's going to be, there's going to be a lot. But anyway, always a pleasure hanging out with you on Monday night and talking with you and having a great time. So enjoy the week, and I will see you soon. Take care.